Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Who's that kid? Nick. He looks like Beaker from Muppets.
The one on FS1, Nick Wright. Yep.
Yeah. I got something.
That's
for
amazing.
him.
I did not even. I love that.
If I get 5 women and they're all in the same room with me, we're going at it at 110%.
What's going on, everybody? Lazy Booking Podcast live on A2DRadio.com. It is Tuesday night, niche night. So we're coming at you first. Flyers Talk A2D coming at you 9 o'clock tonight. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I am your host, Chrome, joined once again by my pal and yours, Mr. Eric Archer. What's up, brother?
What's happening, Chrome?
Man, not too much. Well, I guess a lot. In terms of wrestling, I mean, the shows this week were meh, but we have some really interesting talking points and some news, I guess like some news or conversational topics that came up this week. And that's what we're going to base this show on. So if you guys are out there, please like, subscribe, and follow. Share this out. And we want, most importantly, to hear your comments today. First and foremost, let's show a little bit of love to our sponsor, Specialized Physical Therapy. Find them at their physical locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Any long-lasting aches, pains, any kind of new issues that come up, please contact our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal, and his award-winning team, and they'll set you on the course to make things right. And they are bringing us our opening topic, a conversation tonight on the Lazy Booking Podcast. And it's pretty simple here. John Cena's promo on Smackdown exposed WWE's creative failures with his farewell tour. Interesting topic here, Eric, to open up with. We've talked a lot about the farewell tour in favor and not over the last couple of months. But this promo, I think, indirectly kind of raised a lot of flags and questions for people. And I think it is a very important topic to address. So, again, anybody out there, we please ask you guys, comment in. We'll bring your comments up on the screen. We'd love to hear from you guys. We already got Pove chiming in, saying, let's go. Appreciate you, brother. But yes, please, anything you guys have, chime in. Now, Eric, let's get to that topic. Do you agree or disagree with the statement that this promo with Logan Paul on SmackDown actually indirectly or maybe directly addressed it, but exposed the creative failures of, I would say, more so the back half of the farewell tour?
Yeah, so pretty interesting, topic. Very intriguing. I will say I thought the promo on Friday was outstanding. I think he laid into what has been kind of not the greatest run. It's had its highlights. It's certainly had its downfalls, and I don't think it's all Cena's fault. I think indirectly, whether it was intended or not, a lot of it probably had to do with the involvement or lack thereof of Rock and of Travis Scott. I think it kind of got to a point where we were waiting for that shoe to drop and see what happened there. And then
that one was for the better.
Yeah. Well, Travis Scott, yes. Rock, unfortunately, we're probably never going to, we're not going to know, unfortunately, where that could have, what could have happened there. But I agree that it exposed it for the lack of, I wouldn't say direction. I just think, they didn't read the room very well when it came to what the fans really wanted. I think it got off to a good start, of course, the turn. And I think it will always go down as a highlight of his run as far as, the wow factor and then the shock of the whole situation. But the execution afterwards was, very, very challenging, to say the least. I think he tried to he tried to say things that you could just tell, the fans weren't buying it. What was the dysfunctional relationship, that whole scenario, and trying to turn against the fans that were clamoring for his retirement tour and wanting to cheer him. So, and I think you saw that at WrestleMania, where I would say 75% of the fans were cheering on Cena, and the rest, Cody was not getting
to cheer for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was trying everything to turn against them, and it just wasn't working. It was kind of like a one night stand where he was throwing the Cena t-shirt and they were throwing it back to him. Like they weren't buying what he was selling. So I think, thankfully they kind of read the room finally, and it was time to, take a back seat to this heel run, and let's go and let's right the wrong. So I think they did a good job at SummerSlam, right before with the promo and saying like, hey, I woke up and I'm gonna go in and go back to what's working. And I think this promo specifically, you could definitely tell he's listening. He's reading what's online, or he has somebody that's telling him. Clearly, the opponents that it's been rumored that he's going to work with or wasn't going to work with, and he kind of laid into that into his promo where they don't want to see me fight you. You kind of just went up at the right place at the right time, and I think it's good that they leaned into the reality base of the situation and use it to kind of make right the wrong as far as this run. There's not a lot of time left. They got 10 dates left, and I think 8 have been announced. So they're running out of time. The one thing I would say is real quick is it's all well and good, this program with Logan Paul. And I said it a few weeks ago that I think Logan Paul's being put in these positions because he's delivering, and you can clearly see on SmackDown he's just a heat-seeking missile, and he's just a heel machine, and it's good for this program, and it's good to get see everybody's cheering on Cena and all, and it's all well and good. The one thing I would say, and it's kind of been part of, I just don't like this whole setup for France where it seems like it's kind of like they're getting ready for this next WrestlePalooza event in September. And I think it's they've kind of just like, they're having this just to have it. And it's I'm sure it'll be a good event, but I think they're looking too far ahead. They're already mentioning, the whole thing with Aldis saying, I heard from Brock Lesnar, like it's that whole thing, it's kind of like looming over this whole thing, and it's kind of set the tone for this PLE that's coming up. I think the match will be really good, but I think they're kind of it's kind of something that's just put into place, and waiting for the bigger event, which is looks like September.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's a weird spot. You're right. Obviously, I feel like this WrestlePalooza thing was put together. Let's be honest, it's to go up against AEW. So, we've seen this a lot, and obviously, they're utilizing Cena and Brock Lesnar and Lesnar's in-ring return to try to circumvent a lot of those pay-per-view buys. And I think it's going to work. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be massive, but, they do have that special card, that special feature attraction that nobody has. And that is very limited dates for John Cena. And you're looking at one of his last maybe 2 or 3 matches total. So, yeah, I thought the promo was interesting. I thought it was great. I love Logan Paul. We've talked about this. I thought he, again, toe-to-toe with Cena, the way he interacts with the crowd. Even if I think he is a little bit flustered, he just plays it so well that it works. It just works for him. You know what I mean? But, I look at how this is playing out, and I felt like when he made that statement, And I'm not saying that this match in particular is not deserving of this, because I do. I actually think this, if it wasn't to Logan Paul, I think his name would have been tossed into this promo as these are the people I should be having matches with, right? But just considering that it is Logan Paul and what his character represents, I think that it kind of opened up the opportunity to go here. Now, I don't know if this is them answering a criticism or not, in terms of, why are we doing these matches? We just had seen a team with Logan Paul, and now we're kind of tossing away because everybody wants AJ. Everybody wants Dom Mysterio now. That's one of the names that we had heard rumored, and we still may get. Dom's playing it up on his social media right now, opening it up for Cena to go after the only title he hasn't got.
Smart man.
100%. 100%. But yeah, I just find it very. I don't know if it was intended or not, but it really did open up a Pandora's box, and I don't think necessarily in a good way. And again, I don't believe that this is necessarily geared because it's Logan Paul. I just think they utilized the character, and it exposed something a lot of people have felt. Jacob, and then you start to say, and you're like, oh, like we could have had Jacob Fatu. We really should have Dom Mysterio. Why are we got Punk and we got some of the John Cena players? Why are we not? We got Randy Orton. Why are we not getting AJ? Particularly if AJ is possibly leaving to go to AEW, which is something that's still kind of out there. His future is in flux right now, right? And for all intents and purposes, right? We talked about it. SummerSlam was John Cena's best match since he faced AJ Styles 9 years ago in 2016. So you go back and you think all that time, who bought the best out of Cena? It was AJ Styles. I just think it really opened up a Pandora's box because, I was willing to overlook, and I know that I'm actually probably more so in the minority of this. I was willing to overlook the shortcomings of, we start this amazing program for Rock, and whatever reason he's done, it's like he came, he collected his check, he pulled the Jimmy Dugan, he stepped out of the dugout, he tipped his little cap, and he went back to scratch his balls and have a drink. Like, that's essentially how it felt. But, avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan,
There you go.
But listen, it really felt, it's felt like it was awkward from then. But I felt like John Cena, because he's so tremendous in his character, was able to pivot it enough. Like, I was okay. We don't need Travis Scott. Okay, see ya. Didn't work out with WWE. Apparently, he wasn't willing to put the work in the jelly roll was. So see you later. If he was, I would have even overlooked how terrible some of that stuff was. Because at least, there's an effort and a care to try. But I digress. I felt like Cena did enough to carry it. And I think we all knew. I mean, I called this from jump. When Cena did the heel turn, I said, you'll get this probably to SummerSlam, and somehow they'll pivot. So even if The Rock was involved, I think the pivot was going to come around this time. But you think about now, what are we getting on this back end? And again, like I was on board with the Lesnar thing at first. But to be honest, like I'm really thinking, and I'm like, I could be down with Lesnar if I already got AJ, because we're doing a mixture of young talent and the greatest hits. I don't need, like, I would have rather gotten the AJ match. I would rather see a Jacob Fatu who hasn't really had a chance to go against Cena. I'd rather see a Dom Mysterio get that opportunity. I'm happy that Logan Paul is getting the opportunity. But then again, I think, why did we include him in Saturday night's main event? Because that's so close together, it's awkward. I don't really think we needed, you know what I mean? But I do. I feel like we missed. We're now at the crunch time. And knowing that he's not going all the way to the 31st, like he's done it December 13th, I mean, that's like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks you're cutting out. That, it feels like like these 10 dates or whatever is left came up very quickly. And now you sit and you say, oh, did we need 2 R-Truth matches or whatever? Did we need an R-Truth match? Like
I
the
think
first
there's
one I
al-
thought was fine. We didn't need the second one.
I think there's going to be question no matter what you do as far as his last year. There's a lot of pressure. You only have so much time. You only have so much, appearances to utilize. I think they tried something, and like I said before, I was in favor of them, doing something like a heel turn. I really
Same.
think if they didn't do it, it'd be questioned that why didn't they turn him heel? Why didn't they do it? You got to give them credit for making the effort to try to do it, and I don't think that they foresaw not only the reaction from the fan base, but they didn't foresee the Travis Scott and Rock. I think they tried a little too hard when it came to the Travis Scott situation. I think that just like blew up in their face.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's too late. Clearly he's got appearances left, and I think those matches can still happen. Even after Lesnar in September, you still got October, November, and December. And I'm sure he's going to be a part of War Games. That's probably part of it, where it's going to give him an opportunity to be in the ring with several people. So depending on who his opponents are and who he's in the ring with, that's going to give an opportunity for him to be in there with some of the guys that maybe he wouldn't have gotten in with otherwise. So I don't think it's too late to salvage. And I'm not saying it's been horrible. There's been some highlights, that we forget that lead up with Punk, that whole situation where Punk came out as Cena. That was great. And I think, you got the match with Punk, you were going to get that. We got it. I think the R-Truth, there was a story there. Did we need 2 matches? Probably not. But I think, and they probably weren't planning to have 2. But they caught fire with the whole situation of him getting released and utilize that to get another match in. So I'm not I don't oppose that, but I think there's definitely opportunity to continue to I think this match is going to be really good with Logan Paul. And I've heard this online. I've been I listen to some of the people out there, and I kind of tend to agree with some of it, where I don't think Cena needs this. I think Logan Paul needs to win this match, because it would definitely boost him up more than he already is, and he'd have something to brag about. And I think the end game is that Cena somehow loses this match, and it could be, the obvious one would be interference from Brock to set up WrestlePalooza. But I could see Cena saying, like, let me help this guy out a little bit, and get him continued to that trajectory, because I think he believed what he said when he said that Logan Paul's a future WrestleMania main eventer. I think he whether he's picking the opponents or not, I think he's got say, and I think there's a reason why he's working with Logan Paul. I mean, look at the stuff they were talking about, the relationship stuff, and some of the digs, like that's stuff that's got to be okayed from Cena. He's not just going out there saying that stuff. So I think that right there just shows, like, he thinks this guy's really got it, and he thinks that Logan is the future.
Yeah. No, I differ in a little bit. I do agree. I think Logan wins, because I do think you get the Brock Lesnar interference. I don't believe Logan needs to win this. I think this is one time where, as fans, we want to see John Cena win. I think we watched John Cena lose so many matches and put over guys like Theory and Solo Sikoa over and over again, that you're getting what I believe is the best version of John Cena in a very long time. And I think just the ability to put on a high caliber match with John Cena alone does the world free. And I do think this is an opportunity for Logan Paul to, obviously we don't have them anymore, right? You remember back in the old Coliseum videos, the super tapes,
Yeah.
all those different collections of
WrestleFest
matches.
Volume 3.
Yes, like this, to me, this is if we were still making best of DVDs or VHSs, this would be one of those opportunities for Logan Paul to lay down a classic that time and again is featured on, every Logan Paul DVD. When you get the John Cena classics, sometimes they include classic matches that they lost, but it was just such a great match that it becomes a part of their story. Like, to me, this is what the opportunity is for Logan Paul, to have this against, arguably the greatest of all time. And for that reason, I don't necessarily think he needs to win. I think that I would prefer that I think John Cena is going to lay down in his last match. I think he's going to not lay down, but you know what I mean? He's going to go out on his back, right? So I feel like now, like, one thing I always hate about wrestling, and they do it all the time. Somebody's a heel. They win every match. As soon as they turn back to face, they end up losing. Like, I would just be a bad guy again.
Yeah.
Like, why am I going to be a good? My job is to try to succeed, to win titles and create a legacy. My legacy is losing. So, like, we just saw Cena lose in a classic. I don't want to see him lose another one. And then I know he's going to, he'll probably win one or two of the next three, because he's supposed to have, I believe, 3 more after this. But
yeah. I'm with you there. I just think it's kind of more of the story versus, him taking another loss. Like, I think, he's not going to lose. He's not going to lose clean. I think there's kind of some shenanigans in there, but I think he would get his win back from Brock. I think that's kind of where I see it going. But if Bray Wyatt didn't pass, will we get Wyatt versus Cena one final time? I'm sure that would have been a possibility, since we got the Firefly Funhouse match, but I mean, we all know what that was. I mean, it was great for what it was, and what they had to work with the pandemic and all that stuff. So, I mean, that would definitely be one that I'm sure they would like to do if the circumstances were different, for sure. But yeah, I think to your point, Cena's very selfless, and I think he's shown he put over Austin Theory, he put over Solo, he's put over talent. He's somebody that wants to give back, because he's been given so much. So I think that's why Logan Paul specifically, I think he sees something in Logan Paul that's more than maybe the others. Maybe he sees he sees something in him that maybe he doesn't see in somebody else yet, and that doesn't mean that he can't continue to put over talent before he leaves. But I think, to your point, you don't want to see him lose every match either. You want him to continue, try to win certain, win. You don't want to see him lose every match.
You want to see him at the high level that we've been seeing him at. Like, I don't want, now that we got the heel run in and we got the great match with Cody, like, we're gonna pack it in and get the Cena we had the last off and on 4 years we had, where he was losing to everybody. Like, I don't want to get back to that.
Right.
Like, I don't necessarily think now we are in a world where John Cena, I don't think we're in a world where John Cena has to lay down for people. Like, I really believe that we can get the best version of him on the way out there. We did with Hogan. We talked about Hulk all these last few weeks, that last run. I mean, shit, he got a world title run, just like Cena did. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I apologize if anybody was on Facebook. Our Facebook feed dropped about 18 minutes in. hopefully you jumped over here on the tube, and we appreciate you. And on X, please continue to comment and share. I would have loved this match, by the way, 100%. But the cinematic thing, man. So I started reading a book. It's called "We Promise You a Main Event." If you guys haven't checked it out, it's a really good book. Kind of goes over the history of WWE, particularly a lot of like Vince's time, and it goes all the way up until the afterword, where they talk about the pandemic and they talk about, the pandemic, WrestleMania 36, and just hearing them kind of talk about the cinematic genius of what was John Cena and Bray Wyatt and The Fiend at WrestleMania 36. And the fact that The Fiend went over in that. I love Bray. Maybe if whatever this new version would have been, it would have been intriguing. But listen, I am very happy with what our last final image is as far as John Cena and Bray Wyatt goes. It's a truly beautiful classic. Great book, by the way. Check it out if you guys get a chance. We promise you a main event, a great main event. Anyway, I just at this point I don't want to cheer. I don't want to see Cena lose. I don't want to go back to that. This is because that was my fear of this whole year to begin with. Is are we going to get like I referenced it earlier. I said, and Jimmy Dugan just kind of comes out, tips his cap, waves his little hat, and he collects his paycheck. I wanted him. I'm almost incredibly proud that, despite the hot and cold relationship over the years with the fans, he gets it so much that he knows what an impact and a meaningful run could be. I think beating the John Cena of 2 or 3 years ago, as proven by Theory and Solo Skull, even though they're kind of trying to push Solo a little bit now, I don't, we thought like, okay, Cena's putting these guys over, but it goes to show you, if it's not high quality, if it's not meaningful, if he's not having a track record of succeeding, it doesn't mean anything. It's not the Undertaker WrestleMania run that, win or lose, just being there and being selected to do it with him means something. It's become meaningful because of the way he's gone about this last year to try to create a meaningful program, not just let me give you the greatest hits and wave my cap. So, I just think it's really interesting. We'll see how it plays out. We're going to track this. We're going to monitor this, and we'll just see what happens. We got to move on to topic 2, Eric, which I'm very excited to discuss. So today, some stuff came out on the internet. Chris Van Vliet did a sit down with Jake Hager. For those who maybe don't remember, that is Jack Swagger from WWE lore, We the People. And he had some very critical choice words for AEW and Tony Khan. So I do want to pop a couple things up here. So we're going to kind of jump around. So this is kind of a summation, and this comes from obviously Wrestle Purists over there on X. Want to make sure they get their love. But essentially, it comes at Jake Hager further details issues with Tony Khan. He recalls an incident during a talent meeting. And I did watch this clip, by the way.
I did too.
He says, after all the punk shit that went down, the boys got together and we had a meeting. This was the boys only, no office. Sting's in there. Joe, Jericho, Brian, Mox. We're all standing at the front talking us through this shit. And lo and behold, who comes in the room storming in? Daddy's little billionaire. And he's yelling at us because I think it was Dax and Cash, talking about FTR. I didn't want to come in. They didn't like the storyline, so they refused to come to TV that day. And I was like, listen, I'll put you in a 6-man 6 minutes before the show, and you're going to do it. And we're all feeling disrespected. I still to this day wish I could have stood up and said a lot of things. Sting you just told Sting that you're going to put him in a six man in 6 minutes, and then you're going to honor him for his retirement. We became his little playthings. He had to wait outside of his office, or we had to wait outside of his office. His storylines were very good at debuting, but he could never carry anything through. It got to the point where you couldn't tell him anything, couldn't take criticism. He was fucking up, part of my language, and we were all just having to deal with it. We all had blood, sweat, and tears put into the company. We were all there at the beginning. We all had our careers behind us, and that helped build that company. And then we all had to just sit side by side and couldn't do anything because he wanted to run it the way he wanted to run it. End quote.
He's not bitter. He's not bitter at all.
Yeah. So before we jump on to the next part, let me get your reaction to his statements. Do you believe what he said? And again, we know there's a follow-up, but it becomes a he said, they said, really.
Mm-hmm.
But taking all of it. So before this, he talks about how, I was promised all of this. I came in. I was a part of the inner circle. Kind of insinuates that he moved the needle a little bit, which, okay, maybe he did the first night because it was the first time you really had, like, outside of Moxley, a WWE World Champion kind of move over. Before we can jump in, so what are your thoughts on what he said? Do you believe him? Do you believe part of what he said? I have my choice words on this, but I'm gonna let you dive in.
All right, so I think that he believes what he said was true. Of course, there's always different sides, and we'll get to the other side, one of the other sides, to the people he was referring to, who had some comments to say. But I think it's his truth, and I think he's portraying it in the way that he feels it went down. And it could be different for him than it would be for anybody in that locker room at the time. Do I think the meeting happened? Sure. And I think I've heard some rumblings of, only 10. You can't hear that, can you, back there?
No. Okay,
good. Kids are fighting. I'm sorry. They're gonna have a Royal Rumble here in a minute. Nice. But anyway, so I think the interpretation could be different from anybody in that locker room. And I think it probably did happen. And I could probably see Tony Khan coming in there and chiming in. But I think it's kind of like some of the stuff that you hear about, like him not, just having daddy's money and throwing it around and, being more of a fanboy versus a promoter and things like that. Like maybe, that probably happened, a couple years ago. So, I mean, it could have happened. Maybe Tony has.
You're talking it's around when Punk left, right? So we're talking 2023.
Yeah. So like nearly 2 years ago, year and a half, I would say. So, I mean, I could see some of it happening, but I think it could be portrayed in a way that he's kind of has his own narrative of it. As far as him being involved in those conversations, I find that very hard to believe that he had any impact in any locker room situation where he's probably just sitting back and not saying a word. Like, he's not going to say nothing. Like, I highly doubt he had any clout in the locker room whatsoever. So I don't think I think it happened, but I think his story is probably different from others that may have been in there.
Yeah, it's 2 years removed, so memories can be foggy.
Sure.
So I could see this being a thing. Do I think he could have certain names mixed up? Sure. Do I think that there could have been, and we're gonna follow up with this in a minute, obviously with the FTR reply to this, which is tremendous. Do I think that FTR, maybe it was somebody other than FTR, because we've seen it proven that there's a lot of egos in this company and people that believe they have an entitlement to certain things. I do. Not going to speculate on anybody, but I have people in mind that could be in these positions that he's thinking it's one and it's actually another. But I kind of think he's kind of weirdly confirming what a lot of people think. Like, I took a year and a half break from this show doing it regularly. Right, I just came back in May, and before I took my break from this show, I was talking about how Tony Khan, it's like action figures. Like, this is the shiny new Elite Series figure that's out. And it's Toy Story in real life, where they have Woody. And, you know, I love Woody. Woody got me here. And Woody was a huge part of what helped to mold what my vision of this is, and helped to mold my creativity. Now Buzz Lightyear's in it. And now, I think I need to go and get a Buzz. And now I go and I get Buzz. And not only do I get Buzz, but Buzz and Woody are there. They're either together or they're apart, but who ends up being the ultimate hero at the end? It's going to be Buzz. But that's until you get the next one. And that's literally what it's become. It's a game of Toy Story. It's a game of figures. So it's funny that he referenced that, because I have used that analogy for almost 3 years with Tony Khan. And, you know, people can say, well, Jake Hager never moved the dial. I will tell you, internet wrestling community, I went toe-to-toe on X and Twitter and Facebook with the people who were like, Jake Hager debuted on AEW. And it was like, and I'm like, who cares? You're the same people that 6 months ago or a year ago were dumping on him in WWE, calling him a jobber. Why is he moving the needle for you now? Why does he move? And like, we always kind of, like, for different reasons, but like, we always found him entertaining, right? So like, I didn't mind him.
No.
But like, it wasn't this ultimate needle mover. But they made it the huge deal. We saw this happen with Miro. The one and I told you this privately in our chat, I am livid at how Josh Alexander is being utilized in AEW. I can't believe, like, if he's cool with this, then fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a guy that was a tag team wrestler who was like second fiddle. He was the worker while Ethan Page was the face of the tag team. And then Ethan Page leaves and he becomes a singles guy who literally became like you could AI image Kurt Angle's face over his body on a video, and someone could watch that and they would think they're watching Kurt Angle. He is literally Canadian Kurt Angle. And now he can talk. He's tremendous on the microphone as a face or a heel. He proved that right before he left AEW, that he could run as a heel as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching this, and he comes in as like a mystery to, I guess, what was it, Owen Hart or whatever, one of those tournaments. And he loses, right? He's supposed to be like this, he's the top free agent, Josh Alexander. I don't even think I've heard him say a word on the microphone yet. And then they stick him with the Don Callis family, which, why, like I said this earlier, Eric, at what point do we get the DCF Hollywood and DCF Wolfpack? Because they are just, hey, we got nothing for you. You're with the Don Callis family. I think it's been tremendous for Kyle Fletcher and for Takeshita. Anybody else? I forget what name Nick threw in there earlier, but to me, that it's the fact I can't even think of it tells me I don't think it's done anything for anybody. I don't think it's done anything for anybody outside of those two guys. So why do we need to have, what's his name? that was with Best Friends?
Oh, Beretta.
Trent Barrett. Why does Trent need to be there? Like, I just like. There's so many people in this group that are completely and utterly. Josh Alexander is in this and has never spoken a word on the microphone. What are we doing?
Don Callis talks for him.
But he's like
for all of them.
Like he's literally a guy, Eric, that we have talked about where I hear the criticism of, oh, why is WWE going to put this person in NXT or that person in NXT? They're above that level. Josh Alexander's a guy who could go to a main roster and be a world championship contender. And what are we doing? Yeah. And this is, like, to me, of all of them, we see Miro. At least Miro got, like, a bit of a push, and he's kind of transitioned that character to WWE. Now, again, I feel like we're starting to spin the wheels on it because we're not going anywhere. We're sitting at the Sheamus start line. But that's a conversation for another day. But, like this is the ultimate example that of, like, this is complete and utter. Like, this was a signing just to keep him away from WWE. Yeah. You had no plans to use him.
Yeah, going back to Hager, I would I mentioned about him being bitter. I think it came off as if, it may be true, but it seems like he just does not like Tony Khan for whatever situation took place. I think he said something about he only offered him a year and a half, and he thought he was slighted based on what he provided during. We talked about that debut where he was on the show and appeared out of nowhere. Was that the first Dynamite episode?
It was. Yep, Dynamite.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, all right, we're bringing him in, the big guy compared to Luger showing up on Nitro, all well and good. Maybe moved the needle a little bit, maybe it didn't. But I think to him, he thought that he had the right to be entitled to more, and I guess he felt slighted, and you could tell like this guy doesn't like Tony Khan, based on his experience with him, and he made sure he laid that out in that conversation, that story about the locker room where he's like, oh, daddy's billionaires coming in here, and I just think that it came off as petty, that and sour grapes, but I could see it being true as well. But I think I personally don't think I think Tony made the right call by not bringing him back. Like, whatever happened, like, he brought him in and saw that there's really no value anymore in him. He was in the inner circle. That stable was not great because of him. It was because of who was leading it. And I think he played a part in it. He played a supporting part in it. And I think they got the most out of him that he could. And I think that's it. And I think he said he's not in wrestling anymore. I think he's not in wrestling because AEW doesn't want him. WWE probably doesn't want him either. I think it's at the point where that's it. It is what it is. And I wish him well, but I think I think there's a lot of hard feelings about how he exited AEW.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are aspects of this that I do struggle with that I don't know that I totally agree with, because I look at Sting and I look at Big Show, and I think these guys have been so critical of how AEW or WCW was down the stretch and how it was ran, and it is very WCW-esque.
Yeah.
In how this is depicted, of kind of like the Russo days and everything down the stretch. So I do get curious how true this could be, because if Sting and Show were in the room, I can't just see them sitting there.
Right.
And Tony Khan, like, I don't think he's a bad guy. I just don't think he's a wrestler. I think he's a fan.
Yeah.
With a lot of money. And, like, I don't see Sting and Show and even Jericho putting up with that. Maybe, I mean, even Mox, maybe Mox would. But like these guys have been there in a company that did this, and I don't see it. So that's kind of where I'm looking at the other aspect. So I focus more on the characterization of how he painted Tony Khan and that, you know, how he runs his business. I think I took more of like, yeah, I do believe in that. Like, I don't think he's lying on that because we're seeing it with our own two eyes. And I do think that, and I've said this for years, I will die on this hill. I have no problem with Tony Khan being a wrestling promoter. I have no problem with him being, you know, obviously the owner of AEW. My issue is, and I've heard that he has put certain people in certain spots. Like I believe maybe Jarrett, or at least at one point was working for them, Jeff Jarrett. I think Bryan Danielson has somewhat of a hand in things. And if that's the case and we're still here, then we need to start looking at making a change. But some wrestling people need to be involved in the creative, in how we are presenting characters. Because, again, like night and day, what NXT and the Performance Center now does for young talent compared to how it has to happen at AEW. And there's a big reason why talent like a Jade Cargill has to go, and obviously she skipped NXT because she was so massive how she was presented at AEW. But there is a reason why this talent needs to be shifted to another place. And I mean, Mariah May is a prime example. What is it? Like Monroe now, or what did Booker keep calling her? Marilyn, not Marilyn.
Oh yeah. Oh,
maybe Monroe.
Yeah.
But listen, I just that's where I stand on this. I look at the creative aspect of it. I do want to throw up the follow-ups to this. So we shared what Jake said. So now comes Dax. Dax says, Cash and I were at the all talent only meeting that was called by Brian, Jericho, and Mox. Tony never interrupted. Cash and I never refused to show up to work. Sorry, I was actually trying to pull it up on my phone so I didn't have to read it off the screen. Cash and I never refused to show up to work, and I dare to say, if you look at our schedules since Collision started, we're the most consistent talent that make both shows every week. I'm not really sure where all this is coming from, but it's mostly not true. That's the first thing. Cash Wheeler follows us up here. He simply, no words, just shares a screenshot of a text message he's had with Jake. Sends it to Jake. Jake says, I apologize if you're upset. I said I think it was you two. I didn't say it definitely was, but the meeting happened. Cash says, I know, but to say I think in quotes and then actually say our name makes us look like assholes. And it wasn't even us. We're assholes, but we show up for work. Jake says, I apologize. I shouldn't have said your name, especially when I didn't know for sure. So there's that. Hilarious.
Yeah.
What Cash had to say. And
they're not wrong.
No, he should not have said any names if he wasn't sure. Hence why I said I have my suspicions on certain things. I'm not going to throw any names out there because I don't know for sure. I got nothing to go on. It's just a gut feeling of what I've seen. He was there and he's not sure.
Right. And I mean, the proof's in the pudding as far as FTR. They're on TV all that, like, talk about the inconsistencies of AEW and about like people disappearing and showing up. And FTR, since they arrived, I mean, I can't remember a time where I didn't see them on the card, like on a consistent basis. And and he's right. I mean, they're on Collision, they're on Dynamite, they're on the pay-per-views. I mean, they're always in something. So I mean, they have every right to say that stuff because they're there. And I find it very hard to believe that they would say that they refuse to work with anybody. I mean, we've heard this stuff with the Hurt Syndicate and stuff like that on the other end, but I mean, I don't think FTR would refuse to work with anybody. I mean, these guys are in it for they're in it for the long haul. They're great. I thought WWE dropped the ball with them at the Revival. That's a story for another day, but I mean, it's but I think they are ones that are very consistent in what they do.
100%. Our boy Rue here, Rue TV,
What's up,
says
Rue?
Tony will sadly never give up the booking pencil ever. That's a big reason why AEW even exists. So Tony can play Booker. Nothing to do with this. We'll have to have you on with us one week, Rue.
Yeah.
Have a conversation.
Yeah.
If you're free on a Tuesday, we'll have to have you come on and join us.
There you go.
Oh, he would be tremendous. He's a funny guy, too. Anybody wants to check him out, his YouTube page. Yeah, he posts. He's all right. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with this. I thought it was really interesting comments. I'm going to be interested to see what the blowback is. What's interesting is, and unless I've missed it since we've been on, Tony always comments back on everything. So I am shocked that he didn't have any kind of an immediate reply. We're gonna have you on, buddy. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
Are you shocked by this?
About him not responding? No. No, because I think I said it a couple weeks ago. I think he's kind of stepped back a little bit as far as social media and stuff like that. Like you see him, like sometimes he'll be out somewhere. I think there was one where he's in a tram somewhere and he's like saying, "Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing good." But I think if somebody's telling him, maybe somebody's telling him like, don't say anything. Maybe he's listening to the right person. I think he realizes, some of the stuff he said before, like the whole thing with danger to my life was in danger. That kind of stuff has kind of blown up in his face a little bit. So I think maybe he's taken the learning from his mistakes and hopefully I wouldn't be surprised if you never hear anything about this. I think I think the fact that FTR responded, may be enough there to where it's like, all right, I probably don't even need to say anything about it. He might, but I wouldn't be surprised if you never hear from him about it.
I'm actually curious. I can see that. Oh, yeah. All right, so TK. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I don't think, and he's been definitely more quiet, and like I said a few weeks ago, like he's not talking about the competition anymore. He's kind of just letting it be. I think there was some questions about the situation with the cash-ins and stuff like that, and their method towards it. And I saw there were some comments about, I guess they're not going to allow people to cash at night of and things like that. But but he's kind of stayed the course, and he's not saying a whole lot about, the competition or anything for that matter, except for, those like press conferences after. And I don't know. Are they still doing those? Did they do one for Forbidden Door?
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I think I don't know if they did one for Forbidden Door. They did one for All In. I know that for sure. So I'm not 100% sure. Sorry. Something popped up here.
No, all good.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I would imagine they do. There's been no mention of like them cutting anything out, and usually he would. Tony loves his big announcements, so
yeah. And I with the AEW scrum, like media scrums, they weren't like super like kayfabe, and they were kind of wrestlers would stay in character, but I mean there were some legitimate questions asked, and it wasn't like made out to be like a circus like WWE's were. WWE's after a while were just kind of like kind of a waste of time. Like Hunter would come out and say his stuff, but then the talent would kind of be like, ask some silly stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, although the way that was ran there, very interesting as well.
Mhm.
A couple more things we wanted to talk about. Let's just jump around. It's kind of news and notes, but obviously our third main topic: the rumors of Chris Jericho and a potential WWE return. And while we're talking about this, I think it's about that time. Crack open a real American beer here. R.I.P. to the Hulkster.
It's good cold beer, as Sheiky would say.
Good cold beer. It's a real American beer, brother. But yes, so is that something that we want to see? And I really would love for our viewers out there, obviously like and subscribe and follow. But I really would love to hear your guys' opinions on this because I have a mixed emotion. I could be swayed one way or the other. So please comment in. We want to hear your opinions on this topic. But yeah, go ahead, Eric.
So, as far as Jericho goes, he's going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame at some point, whether it's next year or the year after. His contract's up at the end of the year, and who's to say he doesn't re-sign with AEW? But I think, looking at how he's been programmed, and they've tried, and I think it's kind of come to the end where I think the fans are sick of him in AEW, and we've seen a track record of that before with AEW. And that's not to say that the stuff that Jericho was doing was any good. I think the learning tree stuff was kind of silly and a little over the top, and I think he meant well trying to build up Bill and who's the other guy he had with him? Bill, and he had Big Bill, and I don't remember the guy's name. I apologize, but anyway, yeah. So I mean, just goes to show it really didn't work real well there. So I think the road, like it kind of wilted away, his whole thing. So I think a WWE final run, it could work, sure.
Frankie.
Thank you. So I think it could work. I don't want to see Jericho every week on Raw or SmackDown. I think you could do kind of what they did with Goldberg. You could bring him in. You could have him do a match here or there. Like, you might not even need to do a match with him. You could, like, an appearance. In the Royal Rumble. I don't know if Jericho really wants to be in the ring much longer. He's up there in age. I think he's 58. He's beat up.
Like, listen, I think for the better part of his life, he kept himself in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a guy that like overnight, like aged like 10 years. I mean, I mean, age hit him very, very quickly. I have a mixed opinion. First and foremost, Byron Cutler, because you commented, I want to make sure we just touch on it.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about Seth Rollins first because I think Seth must have a competitive championship reign. I got Seth retaining a Clash in Paris, but he must have a competitive reign. And he follows up, whoever wins the championship on Raw, make them a competitive champion. I don't think Seth loses the title anytime soon. I'm going to just leave it at that. Byron.
Nope.
I appreciate your comment. Please keep them coming in, everybody else out there, because we want to hear your opinions on the Jericho thing.
And at the end, I'd like to talk about the women's championship stuff if we have time.
You love chatting
yeah,
about championship stuff. But yes, I would like it to be known here that I don't think any of us are under any impression that Seth's going to drop that title anytime.
Nope.
I would be shocked if Seth Rollins dropped that title anytime between now and WrestleMania.
Agreed. I think
I think
barring injury.
I think we're heading to Seth and Punk at Mania. And Punk finally gets his redemption, and they give him his spot here. So appreciate that comment. And if we get a chance, Byron, we'll circle around. We'll touch on the women's championship. But to get back to the Chris Jericho point, learning tree was kind of like, I think I'm done now. I was kind of teetering on it, teetering on over the last couple of years. Like, was kind of leaning more so like I don't need to see a WWE run. But then there has been talent that's come in over the last couple of years. Like I would love to see Jericho and Dom. Like I think that with the history with Eddie and
with Ray
and the ability to cut a promo, I would love to see. Like I think that would be a special program. And if they do bring him in on some kind of a part-time deal, that's 100% something I would want to see.
Yeah.
However, I really felt like the learning tree was like it was between patronizing, like it was almost like it felt like because the internet had a lot to say about Jericho, and we're kind of down on him for a bit, that it was almost like a middle finger program. Like that's how I felt. I could be wrong. He may have thought it was something brilliant. I don't know how because it was terrible. And I love Big Bill. I think he's just gotten a raw deal.
Yeah.
Brian Keith, I'm kind of whatever. He's just a guy. No offense, but yeah, the learning tree for me was like, it just felt like it was like insulting my intelligence, or it was like I'm Chris Jericho and I constantly change myself, so I can be so creative. Like anything I do is basically creative, and I can make it work. And I'm going to show you guys by doing this dumbass stuff.
Hi guys.
Yeah, like I'm going to patronize you. And it was like it wasn't even good heel heat. It was just like, this is like, just felt beneath him. And that's why I felt like he was just packing it in. Like we're at the point now. Like if you're going to pack it in, then I don't need to see you anymore.
Yeah. I think he tried to work with the fact that I think he kind of knew deep down that they didn't want him anymore. And I think like to your point, it's kind of the patronizing, like, hey guys, bye guys. Like just the way he was acting. I think he was trying to, get more heat and then try to build other guys at the same time. I just think it kind of fell flat.
Yeah, 100%. Rude chiming back in. I think he needs to end his career in WWE, so the final run will happen. However, I don't think he'll be in the big main event role like Punk. Rather, in programs putting over younger guys like them. I agree. I think that's the place where I'm like, okay, like I would be into it. I'd be cool to see it. I don't know that he really thinks that he needs that big time role at this point.
No, I don't think so either.
He got his chance. He went and he had his AEW title runs. He was able to have work with some of the Ring of Honor younger talent, and I think now like we move on from here.
One thing I wouldn't be surprised, and I think I've heard this. Look what WWE's got now: TNA, AAA. Jericho's never been TNA World Champion. AAA. I know he's got some. He maybe go to AAA and do some stuff there. Like there's definitely other opportunity besides WWE as well. Like he can go to TNA.
Wrong, I think he has a history of AAA for many years.
Yeah. So I mean, there are options. And not to say that could happen, but it's definitely a possibility. It could be something that Jericho could sink his teeth into for one last shot. But I think at the end of the day, like it's going to happen because he's had a heck of a career. I mean, whether you like him or you don't, he's been around for 25 going on 30 years. He's been around. So I think his Hall of Fame call is sooner rather than later. You might as well take advantage of it. And I think to Rue's point, it doesn't need to be a WrestleMania main event. And I think you got 2 nights of WrestleMania now. You could put him in a feature match with any of these young guys like Dom. It'd be funny if you could do El Grande Americano. You could do Judgment versus Judgment Day. There's so much stuff you could do. Stuff with New Day. Who knows?
Yeah, I think he's put. Yeah, I think obviously, there is a lot of opportunity, and I think his knowledge is invaluable. And if you look at, he's worked with the young talent in AEW, and I think when you look at, when all this first started, I think it's a positive in that he's never really badmouthed WWE. He's put AEW over.
Yeah.
And I think he's said certain things like the way Vince did it is different here. But he's never been a super, like he's never really trashed WWE. On the other side of it, A, if Punk can come back, anyone can come back. B,
Yeah.
he was an active AEW superstar who came on the Stone Cold sessions and sat with Austin and did the podcast.
Yeah.
And literally discussed and put AEW over in the podcast. And then finally, to me, I think Hunter has proven there are pros and cons to Hunter running the business. I think personally way more pros than cons. I don't think it's perfect. But the one thing he has done is, unless it's an extreme circumstance, you get a clean slate. And whatever beef you had with Vince is not your beef with me. Even if you had beef with me, because him and Punk sure as hell had some beef. And maybe a lot of that was driven by Punk and his feeling of, things being handed to Hunter for being the son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, Hunter was able to step aside and say, I am now running a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company, and I need to step in here, and I need to do what's best for the business. I need to put an ego aside, and I need to mend fences with people, whether it was my fault or not. I need to be the bigger man so we can move forward and make some goddamn money. I think that's the place that we're at with this.
Yep, definitely.
But yes, I would agree with you and Rue. I do think ultimately, if things are right in the world, his career, whether it is a short run or maybe a part-time elongated run of over 2 years, I do believe he should end his career in WWE. And I think, honestly, the guy who should do it is Dom. I think Dom should be the guy who ultimately gets the final over on Chris Jericho. So we'll see. And I could see that. I could see Jericho saying, I'm going to come in for 2 years, and at the end of these 2 years, that's going to be the kid that's going to put me over. It is a full circle, all things tied in moment for him.
Definitely. I definitely could see that.
If that happens, we're going to circle back, timestamp. We're going to come back to this, and I'm going to pull this video.
And you'll make the list.
Real quick, let's touch on 2 more things. I don't know what time you have to hop off. Technically, we have up to 20 minutes. I don't want to go that long. But I do want to jump in on this. Quick thoughts on this. You already know where I'm going to be going here. Becky Lynch cuts a promo on Raw. And she is talking about Birmingham. And this is her quote here. Becky Lynch talking to Brie Bella. Brie Bella challenges her for the Intercontinental title. And Becky says, I will give you an Intercontinental Championship match, but it's going to happen in Paris, a real city. And then she then goes on to say, and I quote, as you see on screen, the only good thing that came out of here died a month ago. But in fairness to Ozzy Osbourne, he had the good sense to move to LA because if I lived in Birmingham, I'd die too. So obviously, I don't know about you. I hear this. I'm like, oh shit. Like, I did not think, though, this was going to become what it has become. Because we get reports this morning that Kelly Osbourne is not happy with WWE and Becky Lynch. So if you went to Kelly Osbourne's Instagram story, this is what we get. Let me take this a little down. She responds to Becky Lynch. Now, this is not the correct Becky Lynch link. She actually quoted a fan page, but it was intended for Becky Lynch. It says, Becky Lynch, you are disrespectful, dirtbag. Birmingham would not piss on you if you were on fire. Hashtag Birmingham forever. Shame on the WWE for allowing such things to be said about my father and his home. So I am not sure if she is going along with the program or if she's legit pissed. It seems like she is legitimately pissed.
Yeah.
So, just real quick, like, is this much to do about nothing? This is on TMZ, the New York Post. It is on every national publication that you can think of. So, you know,
they're not going to say it public. They're not going to say it publicly, but they love it. They love getting like any press is good press to them. I think.
Unless you're
I think they they won't. What's that?
Unless you're Vince, Brock, and Johnny Laurinaitis.
Right. Yeah. So I think Becky, was trying to get as much heat as she could, and I think maybe it was a little too soon. Maybe if she said this, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, it may not have gotten the traction that it's getting. Maybe it does, but I think it may have been a little too soon. The guy just passed away, but I don't think there was any ill intention. I think she was just trying to get heat, and obviously she did. It worked, and it got to the point where Kelly got involved, and I think that's legitimate. She probably didn't heard from somebody. She wasn't watching Monday Night Raw. She probably got it from somewhere or looked online, and Ozzy was probably trending for some reason, and she got wind of it, and rightfully so. And that's her dad. She's not gonna not.
She probably doesn't even realize that he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I am legit about that. I could be wrong, but it would not shock me if she didn't even know that.
That could very well be a possibility. I didn't even think of that. That's a great point. But I don't think it was any ill intention whatsoever. I think she was just getting that natural, like trying to get that heat, and clearly it worked. Was it in good taste? Maybe not. But you know what? There's been worse. There's been much worse.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
On if it's in good taste. No, I agree with you in that there was no malice in this.
Oh no.
And this is a classic case of somebody who, like, I don't even think she read the actual statement that we have on the screen. I literally posted it on the screen so people could look at the statement and analyze it real quick. The statement says the only good thing that came out of here died a month ago. Okay, so we're referencing his death. Big deal. He died a month ago. Like, it's not an infactual thing. But she says, in fairness to Ozzy, he had the good sense to move to LA because if I live in Birmingham, I'd die too. Now,
she's not bashing him. She's bashing Birmingham.
She's literally saying he's the best thing to come from this place. And he was smart enough to get out of this place. So if anything, she's putting him over and dumping on the town. And like, first of all, if Kelly doesn't, either she didn't see the clip and it's just somebody said, hey, they were talking shit on your dad, or clearly she doesn't watch to know that in wrestling, this is Heat 101. And which is why I say she probably doesn't even know her dad's in the WWE. She may not even know he participated in WrestleMania. And I am dead ass about that, right? But
good point.
And then for the Birmingham pride, like, I'm sorry. She has, like, legitimately lived in the U.S. almost her entire life. She has become a celebrity in the United States. So this, like, outrage over it is, like, crazy to me.
That's a good
and
point.
Ridiculous. So, like, again, to me, much ado about nothing. If anything, I think it makes her look a little more silly. Again, I don't think that there's nothing Becky said in there. I'm happy that he died.
No.
This and that. She's actually putting him over, saying, this town sucks, but the one good thing that came out of here was Ozzy Osbourne, and he was smart enough to leave. Like, he's, like, literally, it's almost saying he's the smartest person to ever come out of this place. So,
I'd be curious to see if something comes out, like it's like if they're forced to apologize. But I think to your point, like I don't know if there's anything to apologize for.
No, there's not. It's silly.
And I'm sure Becky in the back of her mind's like, how much more heat can I get? This is great. I love it. Like
I'm starting to lean into it.
Absolutely. I mean, she's already leaning
into coming on the programming.
She's already leaning into like some of the stuff she says is like, I'm the best, I'm the biggest, like things like people are telling me that I'm like this. It kind of sounds familiar. You kind of know where I'm getting, but at the same, 100%. But I think she's leaning into that stuff and she's working to, she's a heel, and it's that natural. It's trying to get a reaction, and it's working. So and she's the one that's making this Intercontinental Championship worth something, and it's going to mean more to the person who takes it from her, whoever that may be. It's just how Wrestling 101 works.
Yep, and I will end it on this, Aaron. If Kelly Osbourne tweets out or puts on her Instagram story, if you're a real fan of me, you'll boycott WWE. Is any of those numbers going to move?
Not today, not tomorrow. They'll probably go up.
Yeah. Like, for one thing, they're bigger celebrities than she is. And their fans are so hardcore that it is, like, you talk about nepotism, and I hate saying it because I'm a person that, like, I don't dislike Kelly Osbourne.
No.
But I just feel like this is like, it's just such a weird reaction.
Yeah.
Like, if it's legit, maybe she's pulling the wool over us and she's kind of going along with it. Similar to how, like, Jelly Roll's wife, Bunny, like, went on social media and she was kind of bashing Logan Paul and talking shit. And then you had the weird internet people who were like, it's fake, right? And it's like, yeah, I'm playing along, you moron.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe I'm hoping it's that, because if it's not, I think she looks real silly.
Yeah, and it could be a knee-jerk reaction too. Like, maybe. Father just passed away.
You get emotional.
And it could have been a knee-jerk. To your point, she could have read it and it was like, oh, they're bashing my dad. I got to say something. Like, it could have been just that knee-jerk reaction. That's what's, social media. You could just get on there real quick and post something, knee-jerk reaction and using your emotions and saying something that you really, looking back like, oh, should I have said that? It's, it's possible that, to your point, she could have read it wrong and reacted in a way that probably doesn't garner, hate towards Becky Lynch for what she said.
100%. We'll got a few more minutes. We'll jump into these last two topics. The one I'm going to jump into, and then I'm going to let you get up on your soapbox and say what you have.
Oh, about the women? Yeah. All right, cool.
First and foremost, Shawn Michaels came out, made a statement. I want to keep it just as simple as possible, because I think it's a very simple answer here. He was very matter of fact in that he believes that NXT is the best 2-hour wrestling program on television. That includes all WWE program, AEW, TNA Impact, Wow Women of Wrestling, whatever companies are out there. Ring of Honor, I don't even know if they have a television deal at this point. But whether it's a streaming service, whether it is live on television, he believes wholeheartedly that is the best 2 hours, creative and in ring. I would like to know if you agree or disagree with the Heartbreak Kid.
Well, first, I mean, of course he's going to say that because he's running it. But I mean, he has an argument. They're building stars. And they've got stories going on all the time. They're building up, different talent. They're utilizing the TNA roster. There's intrigue in there. You've got some really good talent. You got Obafemi, you got Ethan Page, you got Ricky Saints, you got Javon Evans. And then you got the women's division. You got
Trick Willie, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't even mention him. This is saying that they are,
Stacked.
and you brought this up a few weeks ago. A few years ago, you wouldn't have said that, like, where's these next guys? And we hear it from our boy about, WWE's got an age problem. I don't think so. They got their guys ready to go. I mean, yeah, I think, eventually they're gonna have to step up these guys, but they've got so many of them. They're gonna be fine. And like I said, TKO is gonna roll these guys out until they can't go anymore. But there's people on deck, and they've got them. I mean, that women's division, you got Blake Monroe, Jordan Grace, JC Jane, Fatal Influence. You got all these guys, and then you got the tag teams. There's you got Dark State. They're doing well. I think Michaels has the argument to say that they are. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't watch as much as I should, but what I do see is really good, and I think they do a really good job with their storytelling. I think that's where I think AEW lacks sometimes. They have the good wrestling, but sometimes their stories are a little too much, too little for me. And why are these people competing with each other? It's one of those things. If you like wrestling, AEW's all well and good, but NXT's bringing that too, along with the story. So I think he's got a good argument.
I am going to be very matter of fact and very forward with this. I said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again. Week in and week out, talent level, storytelling. NXT is the best 2-hour wrestling program on television. It is the best any hour wrestling program on television on a weekly basis. It is not a question over AEW, over anything WWE. There are moments in the year where I think WWE's main roster does have better weeks. But when I'm going a rolling 12 months, in and out, there is almost never a down week in NXT. Like, never. And I mean, there is always a story to be told. And it always happens. And we talked about that. You're 100% right. 3 or 4 years ago when we had NXT 2.0. And even now, look at that talent in hindsight, though, when you had Braun and you had Carmelo Hayes, who I know they're not doing as much as they should be, but you had Theory and Waller, and you had all this talent.
Tiffany Stratton, you had
Tiffany. Yeah. They're all being utilized now. There is no age issue in WWE. No. You have guys like Dom and Braun Braun Breaker. You have Roxanne Perez, and then on top
Bronson
of it,
Reed.
Stratton.
Yeah.
They are stacked. And now, the one thing we didn't talk about, Eric, is I'll go back and I say all that young talent we talked about 2 years ago that AEW had, where's it at now?
Yeah.
MJF's still there. Darby Allin is shoved down. I can't stand. I don't get the Darby Allin thing at all. And he's actually kind of a shitty human being. Like, it's all kind of known. Like, he's not good to people. So
I do love Hangman. I think Hangman's great, and I think
unbelievable.
I hope he's champion for a while. He's fantastic. Swear it's a shame. I mean, they really have their hands full losing Swerve and Will Ospreay for a time being. It's gonna be interesting to see who steps up.
Yeah, I would agree. Here's the thing, though, Eric. Bringing up these names, right? I'm just double checking my dates of birth here. Yeah. The biggest conversation that was had nothing to do with guys like Swerve and Hangman or Ospreay. The conversation has been young talent. Those guys are over 30. Swerve and Hangman are in their mid-30s. Young talent, future of the company. Who were the pillars? Do you remember who it was? It was Sammy Guevara. It was MJF. It was Darby Allin. Who was the fourth pillar? Who am I missing?
Was it Hangman?
I don't think it was. I don't believe it was Hangman.
Should be.
Maybe it was.
But
So regardless, right?
yeah.
We're talking
I mean-
about an age issue, like WWE and NXT, and I'm telling you, a lot of that talent could absolutely run circles on the main roster.
Yeah.
That Shawn Michaels nailed it. This is the best 2-hour wrestling. This is the best wrestling program. Period. Anyone
It's
who wants
not
to
a-
tell
it's-
me otherwise, don't
Yeah.
see me.
It may be NXT, but it's definitely not ran as a developmental area territory anymore. It holds its own with with the talent that they have, the stories that they have. There's investment there, and I think that's why you see guys staying there longer. And they may not need to go to the main roster right away because they're doing so well in NXT. And you've seen it with like Carmelo Hayes. Like if he's maybe him staying in NXT would have been better for him. But you've seen it work also with Roxanne Perez and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. It's worked for those guys. JD McDonough. So I think for the most part, I think NXT is doing a really nice job. Way to go, HBK. Good work.
Oh, I mean, he's absolutely nailing it. And yeah, I think a couple of years ago, well, when you look at like the initial golden era, pun intended, when you had the black and gold of NXT, there was another time where they were the best wrestling program.
Yep.
But at
And then Vince decided he didn't want it anymore.
But that's not even the point I'm getting to. It wasn't even like the same company. It wasn't the same brand.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't based on there was development. There was talent that was developed by them. Right?
Yeah.
But the biggest figures were the Johnny Garganos of the indie scene. Like development, other than like certain people, the women they were developing from the ground up for the most part.
Yes.
Asuka, though, they bring Asuka in. Asuka was considered the best women's wrestler in the world at the time they brought her in. You had Adam Cole, who, developing those people was developing them to the WWE presentation and not necessarily in ring. So, like, now you're seeing, and then they did, I felt like they did scale it back. And that year and a half or 2 years of 2.0 was about developing. But once they hit that point, it was, okay, we got 2 legs on the ground again. We can run with this.
Yeah.
And we are now stacked. You know what I mean? It's like if I need to meet a certain quota of content for the week, right? Or for the month. I'm a social media content creator, and I tend to drop 5 clips to a clip a day. And I'm just starting, and I could either every day kind of hit it and like hopefully I'm hitting it and I'm going to try, or I could take the step back. I can develop my content, release it to everybody, and now I got a head start. And while all of this is building up everything I'm doing, I'm creating new content in the background so that once that stuff runs its course, I'm going to drop new things, new material, new creative content. This is what it is. Now they took that 2.0 step back, said, I need you guys to carry this company right now. We're going to stock the cupboard. And when the time comes, we're going to pull it out. We're going to cook it up. Y'all are going to get upgraded, and then we're going to unleash this. We're going to serve this to the public. And then while that's happening, we're going to be back in the kitchen cooking up the next entree.
Yep, there you go.
Keep that cycle repeating, and that's what they've done now. And I'm telling you, man, they are killing it with
Yeah,
the
and they've
people
they've got all these feeder companies. You got AAA, you got TNA, you got LFG, you've got who's the other? There's some. Yeah, there's just those feeder companies, they're just going to continue to get talent ready, and they're going to have different avenues to get them ready.
Yeah, I mean, the NIL thing is kind of that happened in college sports has really helped them in what they're doing.
Definitely.
But yeah, so listen, before we get out of here, I will have obviously a follow-up announcement to the announcement we made the last time we were off last week. But before so, you want to make a statement about the women's division, please, by all means do so.
What in the heck are we doing with this women's world title? You had 2 weeks to figure out something, and now all of a sudden Stephanie Vicare's waiting for an opponent. Like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't understand I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just really confusing to me. Like, you knew about Naomi 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't have anything for you in Paris, but we'll have an opponent for you. Like, why don't we give somebody else a chance? Like, are we waiting for somebody to come back? Like, the first person I thought of is Bianca Belair, because she hasn't been on TV in a while. What is she? Is she going to come back and take the title? Not to say that Vicare is ready, but I mean, why not?
Oh, I think she's ready.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just hope it's not the fact that they think that she's not ready and they're going to put it on like either like Bianca or Rhea Ripley, or it sounds like they're waiting on something in storyline. Like maybe that's somebody coming over from Smackdown or from NXT or who knows. But I'm just this really weekend, annoyed. What's that?
But it's this weekend though. So
they're not doing the match in Paris.
Oh, I must have missed that announcement because the last thing I read was they were still trying to figure out what to do about Paris.
There was a backstage story where Adam Pearce had to tell her that she's still the number one contender. However, she won't have her match in Paris. I'm waiting on an opponent. I need a few weeks, and I'll get back to you. So, but you had 2 weeks to figure this all out. Like, and I understand it's storyline, but it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Vicare won what did she win? She won, is this for?
So they're going to save this for
the Battle Royal, the Evolution Battle. Yeah. So this was the Evolution Battle Royal winner. So she earned her opportunity. So what's it to say about the person that's going to face her? How did they earn their opportunity?
So it
just doesn't make any sense.
Cena has Brock on the 13th, right?
Yeah, I think this is probably or the 20th, September 20th. Yeah, so this is probably going to be Vicare versus whoever this person may be. This, it was just strange. And like going back, like I know we kind of were talking about, we were going to talk about Raw. Like I was just not. Raw just didn't do it for me this week, and I think it's just that rinse and repeat of interference at the end of a match. Like it's like they're phoning it in until after this PLE. It's just kind of like I'm kind of just tired of the same old. And Roman did a great job on the mic on opening the show, and I think that whole thing with Bronson Reed's gonna be good.
I'm very invested in that program.
Yeah, I think that one is probably one I'd like to see, and I hope Bronson gets some licks in. I don't think he's going to win, but I think you can make him strong and make him look good. But I also think that it's kind of just this PLE is just kind of like, all right, we're just going to put something together and phone it in until WrestlePalooza, where we're gonna we're foreshadowing it already. We're already teasing Lesnar. We're already Cody and Drew. Those things are kind of just like sitting on the back burner.
It's just so goofy to me that I think when I hear WrestlePalooza, I think of like old school and Mitchapalooza, and it just cracks me up. It's such a cheesy name. I think of Mitchapalooza, but oh yeah, do it up again.
Yes.
So good. Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
That's right. It.
Anyway, yeah, no, I'm with you. The women's title. But at the same time, you know what? We're putting together a big show. We have a delay at this point. What's a couple of weeks anyway? We can feature Becky Lynch in the Intercontinental title more so now. I think Becky being the Intercontinental Champion does help to fill some of that void.
True.
But yeah, I think that maybe I don't think it's the worst case scenario that they're just gonna wait until I think September 20th. But anyway, great show today, buddy. Okay, nice word.
No, all good. No, this was really good. And I don't know if you're going to talk about it. So tomorrow we're going to Dynamite at the 2300 Arena. I'm very excited.
Anybody's around in the Philadelphia area? Please.
Yeah, really
Myself,
excited.
Eric, a couple buddies.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't been in 2300 in quite some time, so I'm excited to see the upgrades because I think you and I were both there in the heyday of the ECW and the bingo hall days and beyond that a little bit with some of the events that they've had. I think I went to a TNA show years ago and Hardcore Homecoming when that weekend with ECW One Night Stand. So it's been a while, so I'm really excited to see that, and I think hopefully. AEW is going to be there for several weeks, so I'm hopeful that they put out some. And I'm sure they'll put out some extreme type matches and stuff in there, and it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same.
As much as I bash AEW, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope they have a good show.
100%. And listen, it's their first show there. They're obviously running a little bit of a residency, so we're fortunate enough to be there for the first time they run out of the 2300 Arena. I'm looking forward to it as well. I can be critical of AEW, less so about some of the talent and more so about the person running the company.
Absolutely.
And some of the creative.
Absolutely, they've got some studs.
There's never. Listen. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago. I think Adam Page is like the most interesting guy in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
But that being said, I am all for multiple companies, competition, major companies. I want to see them succeed, which is why I am so critical, because I see, to me, a lot of the shortcomings are things that don't need to happen. And they are far enough in now that it is okay to criticize, particularly when I thought the first 3 years, they said, I'm going to be a wrestling company. I'm going to we're going to be an alternative. We're going to be a place where everybody is welcomed, and that's when they had people like Sonny Kiss in there, and Joey Janela, and there are some people who were in the company that I thought, they're not really a fit, but then there's other people, Nyla Rose, and they became the all-inclusive company. They had Scorpio Sky and all this incredible talent that really was a next level of wrestling. The Lucha Bros, who are now in WWE. There was something about him, and then I feel like it kind of strayed away. But I will always root for AEW to be better.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I am very excited that they get to run out of the 2300 Arena. I think it's going to be an awesome time. We're going to have a great time. I have ran into some of our viewers there who stop me when they see me. So please, by all means, if you see me tomorrow and you're there, and you see Eric, give us a shout. Hey, I check out Lazy Booking on ATV Radio, Lazy Booking Podcast. Say hi to us. We love to see the people out. I have actually been fortunate enough, Eric, to do a show out of the 2300 Arena. Not necessarily a wrestling show, but A2D has actually done a Eagles-Cowboys pregame show for a primetime game from the 2300 Arena with good friend to the program, Brian Heffron, which glad you brought it up, because what a perfect transition to next week's episode. So we mentioned it previously. We are going to be doing a monthly Eagles inspired, driven episode of Lazy Booking Podcast. So we might throw a little wrestling chatter in there. We are going to be joined by our pal Brian Heffron, the Blue Meanie. You see here. And we are going to be doing our first of a monthly series. Then we are going to preview the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles season, your defending Super Bowl champions. So previously we had said this is going to be a Tuesday, September 2nd, pre-recorded show drop. We're happy to let you guys know this is now going to be a live presentation this Monday on Labor Day at 11 a.m. Myself, Blue Meanie, Eric, if you're available, you're welcome to join us as well.
Awesome.
And we're hoping to get Big Dad Tom Arnone to join us as well. But yes, tune in here, A2D Radio, 11 a.m. with our pal, the Blue Meanie, who was a part of that show. And I always make the joke with my old buddy Brian and say, no matter what anyone says, I could say, hey, I got to perform and work out of the 2300 arena with Blue Meanie.
That's pretty cool.
If you go in the
Love
A2D archives and go back, you can actually find the episode. So anyway, I got these annoying dogs back here barking at a dog.
Mine were doing that earlier.
Yeah. So annoying. I can't do anything about it. I got to go upstairs to do the show. If I'm down there, they're quiet, but I have people home. So anyway, we stayed consistent with our viewers here. If you haven't yet, please, on your way out, give us a like, give us a subscribe, share it with a friend, and make sure you guys come back and see us. Typically, we got a little bit of a later start today. Typically, we're between 6 and 6:30 live on Tuesday nights. And obviously, next week we won't be. Next week, we're going to be on Monday, so mark it down. Set the alerts. Then you're going to get an alerts. You're going to get a heads up a half an hour before any of our shows drop anyway. But set your alerts.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell. Hit the like, subscribe. Share it with friends. Continue to come back and comment. We love that we have our reoccurs every week. And now that I'm through my 2 vacations, I am working to get some guests on the show. I just knew I was going to kind of be in and out. I didn't want to sit there and say, trying to schedule people, and they say I'm available here, and I'm like, well, I'm away, knowing I'm going away multiple times in like a month. So we're back. We're going to get to working on that, and we're going to start, especially with how the program's going out. Like today, right? We're like, we ain't covering Raw and SmackDown. The program has sucked overall the last couple of weeks. So we're like, we'll talk about Cena because that was interesting. But other than that, let's have a topical episode instead of a recap episode.
Now, this was good. This was good, and there's a lot going on, and that I think it's good to hit on those things, even though the product's kind of this week was kind of and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in Paris. It'll be I'm sure there'll be stuff coming out of it that we can talk about and go from there. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for having me on.
Listen, we're going to do recap episodes. We're going to do topical episodes. Shout out to my boy Don here, by the way. He's all over the place. Appreciate you dropping in. I'm sure he'll be dropping in the hockey show later tonight. Flyers Talk A2D. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff on the horizon. And honestly, especially if it's going to be kind of tough week to week at this point, we're going to start kicking in some of these special things where we'll do like all-time lists and we can compare notes, right? Whatever it is. Great. We could do a tournament bracket. We're going to have a lot of fun coming up because we're going to hit a couple of those, I think, over the next couple of months. So outside of talking Cena stuff. So anyway, for myself, for Eric, and everybody here at A2D Radio, for Tom Arnone, our big dad here, we appreciate it. We love you. Shout out to our sponsor, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. Make sure you guys go check them back out over at their website. And until then, we love you guys. Get out there, tell somebody that you love them, and have a wonderful, phenomenal week. And by the way,